In this episode, you'll hear some adult language. So if you have little ones around, please grab your headphones now.
You literally cannot have an optimally balanced mind and soul unless the physical body is healthy on a cellular level. Spend your money on good food. You are never going to supplement your way out of not eating good food, ever.
Hi, folks. Welcome back to Boom Vision. You are in for a treat as I share today's interview with my new friend, Kate Mahoney, who's a functional supplement specialist and supplement quality expert. As you know, this show is about building success on top of a solid foundation of mind, body, and soul. And so when I set my intentions of bringing on a leading expert to speak about building a stronger body, specifically in the supplement world, I could not have imagined a better human being. What's the dealio with supplements? Do they actually work? Did you know that you cannot supplement your way out of a bad diet, no matter how hard you try? You'll definitely want to tune in to hear what's the good, the bad, and the ugly from this week's expert. Let's cue the intro. Welcome to the Boom Vision Podcast. I'm your host, Benjamin Ye. This show is about how you can thrive. It's when you build success in alignment with your mind, body, and soul. I created this podcast to give you perspectives and frameworks on how to strengthen your mindset and gain clarity in your purpose. It's time for you to live an extraordinary life with vision that you design. Let's get to work. Let food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy food. This quote was by Hippocrates, a famous Greek physician of the ancient Greece. Welcome to episode 22 of the Boom Vision Podcast. Folks, I'm excited to share today's interview with Kate Mahoney. Kate is a new friend that I'm blessed to have been introduced through my wife, Ruby. When I connected with Kate, one of the first things she said to me was that it doesn't happen very often that she finds someone that speaks the same soul language when she listened to episode 1 of Boom Vision. I instantly knew she'd be a fantastic guest to share her wisdom with you all today. As a brief background, Kate is a functional supplement specialist and a supplement quality expert whose goal is to empower practitioners and consumers with the knowledge to make informed supplement choices. In 2020, she had nearly 25 years of combined supplement quality-focused education and professional experience in the remedial use of supplements. She was an international functional nutrition instructor for the NTA for 5 years, while also working one-on-one with clients in her private practice. After years of encouragement from her colleagues, at the beginning of 2020, she released a supplement education course for functional practitioners which addresses important quality considerations and the functional use of supplements. Her courses became available in 2022. Teaching online and consulting one-on-one with colleagues and consumers about supplements has been her primary professional focus these past 2 years. So without further ado, here's Kate Mahoney. Kate, welcome to the Boom Vision Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here, Ben.
It's such a pleasure to have you. Now, before we begin, I love for you to share with our audience your origin story. I know you've got quite a story, but I'd love to kind of hear, from where did it start and what led you to your current path?
Oh my gosh. Well, it's literally kind of a mishmash cacophony until about almost 10 years ago when I turned 39. So let's just touch on some highlights of that mishmash cacophony. So when puberty hit, I started to show signs of a really rare autoimmune disorder where I literally have an allergic reaction to my own sex hormones that cause very painful inflammation in my brain every month. And the pain was so excruciating that I could not talk move or eat without puking. And that
Wow.
was literally my life for a couple of decades. So a lot of my choices really were made to be able to navigate how that was affecting my life on a monthly basis. When I was younger, I really got into musical theater and music and singing. And by the time I was 18 years old, I was being trained professionally in opera. But by the time I was 19, my vocal cords had taken on so much scar tissue damage that I could no longer make my vocal cords hit a correct note, which was incredibly depressing because I'm one of those rare people that was born with perfect pitch. So that, of course, caused my life to take a really big turn in a completely different direction because I couldn't sing anymore. So, one thing led to another, trying to navigate my health issues, trying to do college while navigating my health issues was a disaster, did not go very well. It was kind of a hard and bumpy road. And I had a lot of different directions that I tried that mostly were dedicated to me learning how to better navigate my health conditions. And this involved things like finding out more about my own food sensitivities and allergies and becoming really interested in my friends and family members' sensitivities and allergies and starting to formulate recipes for my friends and family and myself. Because for me, I'm very much about food is comfort, and sharing food with loved ones is a way of showing love to your loved ones. And if someone has food sensitivities and allergies, I still want to find a way that they can enjoy their favorite foods or their favorite meals by doing substitutions. So by the time I was in my early 20s, I was formulating recipes. I ended up becoming a health and wellness consultant in my late 20s, which I did for a few years, and which is where I got a lot of my supplement education. But I always felt there was kind of something more to the education than what I was receiving as a health and wellness consultant, because with time, what I really realized is that the education I was receiving was very geared towards selling supplements. And so therefore, the education I was receiving was geared towards what were the highest cost supplements versus what is actually going to help someone.
Mm.
And that's what drew me to really say, okay, I feel like I've got a handle on my health issues enough at this point that I'm ready to take my education to the next level. And I started looking at different programs and evaluating different programs. And I found this amazing functional nutrition program that sadly is no longer what it was when I took it. But I'm really lucky that I got to have access to it and learn from it when I did. And that program literally was a huge epiphany for me because it added in the anatomy and physiology aspects that complemented the biochemistry aspects I already had access to in my education, thanks to my history with and education about supplements, right? So they just kind of married together. And the most interesting thing for me about going through that education is that, I'll be honest with you, Ben, by the time I started learning about functional nutrition, I had it up to my eyeballs talking about supplements. Like I was ready to just be like, I never want to talk about supplements ever again. But the entire time I was going through the program, I had all these people, like every single student, and even some of the course mentors who were graduates that come back to help current students going through the course to get the most out of it, and the instructors coming to me and asking me questions about supplements. And before the course was over, I had both of my instructors ask me, do you have an interest in becoming an instructor for this course? And I was like, well, tell me more. So yeah, that was a really interesting moment in my life because it was when I was 39. And by going through that program, it was when literally everything in my life came together and finally started making sense. And that was the biggest milestone that brought me to where I am today.
Yeah, no, that that leads to my second question, which I think you
Yeah.
just answered, is that have you always known what your soul's purpose is, early on in life? And it sounds like it was that event in when you were 39 where you had that aha moment where it
Yep.
just seems like everything, your past, present, your journey just merged into that one crossroads and one singularity. And it sounds like that really helped guide you from this point going forward.
Well, kind of, because
Hmm.
now that you say that, there was another huge milestone.
Hmm.
Because in all honesty, I wasn't sure if I was the kind of stuff that was made to be an instructor. And I remember the first time when I was an assistant instructor and the lead instructor assigned me a presentation that I was going to need to do. And he saw me physically start freaking out. Like I was trying really hard not to show it, you know?
Yeah.
But internally, I was like, oh my God. And he looks at me and he really gently says, have you ever done a presentation before? Have you ever taught before? And I was like, only to preschool students, because that was one of the things I did in my many incarnations of life is I was a preschool teacher.
Ah.
For like 10 years, I worked with children and I freaked out and I was like, no. He's like, it's okay. You're going to be okay. You're going to do this. I've got your back. I'm here to support you. And I was like, okay. So I get up there and I start teaching. And for the first time in my life, it was like I had this moment where this inner truth just rang throughout the core of my being of this is what I am meant to do in life. I am meant to be a teacher. I am meant to be a bringer of information to people so that they can make empowered choices.
Hmm.
And it was, I mean, I'm still like, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it because it was such a profound moment for me of that cellular recognition of connecting my body,
Yeah.
mind, and spirit in that moment, literally connecting with my purpose.
I love it. I'm feeling it right now,
Yeah.
Kate. You know me, so I literally feel what you're feeling,
Yeah.
and it is warm, it is hot,
Yeah.
and it reminds me of a quote. It reminds me of a Steve Jobs quote, which is that you cannot connect the dots looking forward. You can
Mhm.
only connect them looking backwards. So you just have to
Yeah.
trust that the dots will somehow connect you in the future. And
Yeah.
what you just shared, just really symbolically, I get it because I've also went through my own journey of that and the type of coaching that I do as well. So I think that's why we're in that same frequency.
Absolutely. And do you mind if I share something
Yeah.
that for me, what you just shared brought up for me?
Yeah, please.
So, another one of my many incarnations in life is I was a professional tarot reader for over
Mm,
10 years. And in tarot, there is a card known as the Star. It's a major arcana, number 17. And the base foundational definition of it is when your body, mind, and spirit is drawn to go in a direction and you think you know the reason why, but the truth is we don't know the future. So by the time you get there, you realize that the real reason why you were drawn in that direction is completely different than what you originally thought it was.
that like sums up my life.
Yeah, I know, mine too.
I
It
get it.
honestly took me a long time to understand that card because the meaning, it's the card that represents the sign of Aquarius. And Aquarians have very complicated lives out of every sign of the zodiac. A lot of people don't really understand them. It's some very complex layered issues, but that is a completely different direction. And I know that's not what I'm here to talk about today, but that is what you shared, brought up for me. So thanks for
Yeah.
letting me go there.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And so Kate, you're known as the supplement quality expert.
Yeah.
And so for those that are new to just the world of supplements, does it really help or is it just a placebo, right? Like if I bought multivitamins at Costco, like by and large, right? Pun intended, but by and large, if I went there and just get it, am I am I covered? Am I good? Or what's, for folks that are just new to this world?
Yeah, that is
What
such
could
a
you
great
share?
question. Okay, so who are they a placebo or are they worth it? What I can tell you as a supplement quality expert is that 90% of what is on the market, and I am speaking specifically as a US practitioner.
Hmm.
And the reason why I make that caveat is because, just a little bit of context, I do teach courses about supplement quality and therapeutic nutrient use to health professionals internationally.
Hmm.
And I have different international specialists that are a part of my team that specialize in the laws and regulations and supplement quality for their country that
Hmm.
they are a practitioner or a health professional in. So I just want to clarify that because I kind of have that global focus, that I'm specifically right now speaking as a US based practitioner,
Hmm.
that 90% of the products that are on the market, and I'm sorry to share this for any of you that are health professionals in this field, but this includes practitioner lines, 90% of the products on the market are a waste of money. They are not
Whoa.
worth it. Please do not buy them
Whoa.
because most of what is on the market is not good quality. It's not worth it.
Wow. Okay, so I think we have to go down a rabbit hole on that
Yeah.
one. That's a pretty high percentage. So you're saying 90%,
Yep.
9 out of 10 bottles or
Yes.
whatever it is just
Yep.
when you say it's not worth it, when you say the quality is not there, help me understand that. So,
Okay.
does that
Yeah.
mean if I'm making this number up, but if I'm buying a $50 bottle, the quality is really
Yeah.
more, it's not really up to that par. Like, is that what you mean by quality, or do you just mean
The
what they say they
price,
do?
the
Yeah, like,
price is not an indication of quality
okay,
always,
okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So there are so many different factors that affect quality. So let me just touch on them really briefly.
Yeah.
The first one is raw materials. So
Mm.
let's talk about what raw materials are. Everything has to come from something. And most nutrients in supplements are literally synthesized. They are not coming in their natural form from food.
Mm.
Okay. So labs are having to use raw materials to synthesize these nutrients. So let's talk about what the four most commonly used raw materials are to synthesize these nutrients. Number one, corn. Almost 90% of corn in the world at this point is GMO. Okay,
Mm.
so that
Mm.
means it has been genetically engineered to withstand any levels of herbicides and pesticides placed on it,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's something to consider.
Mm-hmm.
The number two most commonly used raw material is soy, also very known to be GMO for the same reasons. High levels of herbicides and pesticides can be added to it in abundance. It doesn't matter. It still stays alive. Is that something you want to put in your body? Well, maybe some of the listeners do, but me, I don't.
Mm.
And for those people who have food sensitivities, allergies, and tolerances, here's a couple more. Now, we know that soy is a very common allergen, but here are the two remaining out of the four raw materials that supplements are commonly made from:
Mm.
grains. So let's talk about gluten, a very well known sensitivity that a lot of people have. And some people have a full on allergy or autoimmune response to it. And nightshades. We know that there are people that literally are intolerant of nightshades. Those are the four raw materials that most nutrients are synthesized from. So if you are someone who has allergies, sensitivities, react to things, if you have a bad reaction to supplements, congratulations. Now you know why. Ta-da!
Wow. Wow. Wait, so the fourth one you said,
Yeah.
nightshades, when you said that
Yeah.
word, it takes me to that movie Zootopia.
So, nightshades, there are many members of the nightshade family that are literally toxic, that
Whoa.
people should not eat because it can kill you, like belladonna.
Hmm.
Okay. But there are members of the nightshade family that some people tolerate well. So that would be the bell peppers, the tomatoes, the eggplants, any of the potatoes, with the exception of sweet potatoes and yams, which are a completely different species than nightshades. But all of the potatoes, like russets, Yukon Gold, red, white, they are all part of the nightshade family.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay. That's just a new term for me. That's why I'm like, my mind's being blown right now, but got it. Wow. Okay. So,
And that's just one aspect that affects quality is
right,
raw materials, right? So
right.
there's more.
Yeah.
Are you ready for the next one?
I feel like we pull that string, it's just gonna like unravel into like all this
I
stuff. But
know, I
no, no.
know.
I mean, yeah. If you want to go there, I mean, we can. What's the biggest misconception of supplements that people often think is true?
Oh my
Because
gosh.
I'm a newbie in this. I'm married to a nutritionist, and my wife Ruby, and so
Yeah.
she luckily has that department completely covered, right, from that perspective.
Yeah.
So I
Well,
just eat
she's
whatever
a
she takes.
graduate from my courses too. So
Right,
she
right.
has all that information about what factors determine the quality of a supplement. So that's
Yeah.
a great question. Your whole thing of what is the biggest misconception of supplements that people often think is true.
Mm,
So there's actually three now that I think about it.
mm,
Number one, most people believe that the nutrients in supplements are derived from food.
mm,
They're not, as I just mentioned, they are synthesized. For example, ascorbic acid, which is not even real vitamin C, and there are many, many articles and research studies that show that vitamin C is so much more complex than they originally thought. Ascorbic acid is just one active component of vitamin C, and it literally will not cure scurvy by itself unless it is with the phytonutrients known as bioflavonoids, but that's a rabbit hole. So, ascorbic acid, which is in the supplement world, what's known as vitamin C, is made from dun, 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 fermented corn dextrose. Now, there is some that is not made from fermented corn dextrose. Instead, it is made from making tapioca mold.
what?
Yes,
Okay, because when I think of vitamin C, my mind goes to orange and lemons, right? But that's
exactly. And that's what most people think
yeah.
vitamin C is derived from. No, unless you get a food derived vitamin C product, which literally means, like, on the package, it will say food derived, not food based. Food based is not the same thing.
Right.
Food based is a marketing term that means this is mostly synthesized nutrients with a little bit of food derived nutrients
Mm,
thrown in so that we can say that it's food based, right? So it's kind of like the word natural. Anybody can use the word natural on their package, and it
mm,
doesn't mean a hill of beans. But food derived literally means that the nutrients have been derived from actual food, and that is a rarity.
wow. Okay.
Huge rarity. But the other thing to consider about ascorbic acid is, in my world, in the world of being a functional practitioner, and I may be going down a rabbit hole that some of your listeners are like, I'm not a health professional, so I don't really understand. But it could be that some of your listeners who are not health professionals have issues in this area and may still know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to mention it really quickly, which is there are a lot of people who have a bad reaction to ascorbic acid because they have something known as histamine intolerance.
Mm,
And that is because vitamin C is made using a fermentation process, which means it is super, super high in histamine. So if you're someone who has histamine intolerance, and for those of you who have it, you know what I'm talking about. And for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, that's okay. Maybe you can do a Google search and learn some new stuff. But if you have a bad reaction to supplements and you know that you have histamine intolerance or histamine toxicity, the reason why is because most synthesized nutrients are made using a fermentation process at some
mm.
point along the way. So most supplements are very, very high in histamine, very high.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. So you described one of three, I think, of the misconceptions, right? You said there
Yes,
were three. So that was number one.
that
What
was
what
number
is number
one.
two?
Okay, number two, if it's on the market, it's safe. I can take it. No problem. It's not going to imbalance my body. DHEA, pregnenolone, you know, 7-keto, like there are all these hormones, like transdermal progesterone cream. Oh, it's on the market. It's safe. I know. Let's mess with my hormones. I don't have a practitioner overseeing what the hem and aha I'm doing with my body right now. But if it's on the market, that means I can do some Google research and just use it and assume that I know what I'm doing and the effects I'm going to get. Please, please don't be that person. Supplements have a purpose. Every structure and every function of the body is built from and runs off of nutrients. Literally, every structure and every function of the body is built from and runs off of nutrients. This is biochemistry, people. You need to be working with someone. Ideally, you should be working with someone who specializes in the biochemistry of the body that can help make sure that whatever supplements you're using are, number one, compatible with your body, and number two, that your body is actually ready for it. And number three, that they're familiar enough with supplements that they're not going to be suggesting something that causes a negative feedback loop. So let me explain what a negative feedback loop is really quickly. A negative feedback loop is when you have this natural process in your body, such as bile production, that tells your body, hey, I need more bile, make more bile. And so your body makes more bile to help digest and emulsify your fats in the digestive process. But if you still have your gallbladder and you take a bile supplement, guess what you're doing? You're telling your body, I have enough bile, don't make more bile. And you're causing an artificial negative feedback loop. So if you have your gallbladder and you are taking a bile supplement, and this is just one example of a supplement that is on the market that causes a negative feedback loop, there are others like pancreatic enzymes and melatonin, and I could go on, but that's why I literally have courses on this topic, because these are like big, broad topics. But just because it's on the market does not mean it's safe.
I think what just occurred to me too is I'm not a doctor, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm really coming from a very inquisitive, just more seeking to just learn about this topic that I'm very fascinated with, right? And so, I think just one caveat I would just share with my audience is like, definitely consult with your physician, doctor, understand that you trust can really help you that. But I think this is just more to give people the awareness to understand, hey, there's a whole world out there.
Yes.
And to be able to do your own due diligence to understand
Yes, absolutely.
can be very helpful, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think one of the other things that's really important is to understand and recognize as well that doctors don't specialize in nutrition unless they've had the continuing education to.
That's a good point.
Doctors and actually most practitioners and health professionals do not specialize in supplements. They don't understand and know enough about supplement quality. They don't understand enough about raw materials, manufacturing practices, and the different category considerations of supplements. Like, oh my goodness. So when I say category considerations, here's what I mean by that. Okay, so let's talk about B vitamins really quickly. I'm just going to touch on that. B vitamins. Most B vitamins on the market are either a synthesized isolate or a methylated form. Methylation is a natural process of the body. Our body should be going through methylation. If you are someone who does not have methylation issues, you should not be taking the methylated forms of B vitamins. You are going to potentially cause imbalance and toxicity issues. So that is one thing that most health professionals and practitioners don't know about. And because methylated B vitamins have gotten such big buzz lately, there are all these supplement companies that are changing over to using, for example, the methylated form of folate, which is not necessarily healthy for the general public. As a supplement quality expert, this is something that is highly disturbing to me that I am seeing happening rampantly. And there are even practitioners that are out there that don't specialize in this that are promoting things like all pregnant women should be taking methylfolate. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And so there's all these supplement companies that are literally changing their formulations so that the methylated form of folate, which I'm going to say it again, only people with methylation issues should be taking. Now, that's a whole other rabbit hole that I'm not going to get into.
Yeah. Okay.
But what I can say is that there is a third category of B vitamins that is not very talked about, that most practitioners are not even familiar with, known as coenzymated. So let's talk about this nice little middle ground, which is what most people should be taking. So there's the man-made synthetic isolates, and then there are the methylated forms, and then there's the coenzymated forms. So the synthetic isolates are not in the state that is naturally found in nature at all. So the body literally has to utilize cellular energy and nutritional cofactors in an effort to try to convert these synthetic isolates into a usable form, which is very taxing to a body. So if someone's body is already struggling with health in general, and then they're trying to take these synthetic isolates, which require cellular energy and cofactors that they may not even have, guess what the body needs to do? Eliminate anything that it can't use, which is also taxing to the body, right? So you're creating additional problems to the problems that you're already experiencing. So coenzymated B vitamins have been put through an extra step so that the vitamins, even though they're still synthetic, they molecularly mimic how the B vitamins are found in nature. So that they are in the form that the body will, number one, recognize, and number two, be able to immediately utilize. Now, unfortunately, as a supplement expert and someone who is very adept at deciphering supplement labels, what I can tell you is that there are products on the market, unfortunately, that say that they are coenzymated B vitamin products, that when I look at the label, I'm like, there's literally only 3 B vitamins in this product that are coenzymated. So you can't necessarily trust the label. This is why, if you want to get the most for your money, either number one, spend your money on high quality foods, which do have the nutrients in their natural form so that your body can use them, and don't waste your money on supplements. Or if you're someone who really does need certain supplements to get your health back into balance, be working with a specialist who has been trained to understand and recognize what is going to be most compatible to your body, what your body is ready for, and what your body really actually needs at each step of your health journey. It is so important. I'm sorry, I'm kind of going on tangents, Ben.
No. This is really eye-awakening for me. I mean, I think if I'm putting myself in the same seat as my audience, I'm trying to think of, for someone that's really, again, very new to the world of supplements, this third alternative of B vitamins you're talking about, B12, right?
No, coenzymated.
Coenzymated. Okay.
So synthetic isolates, coenzymated, and methylated. And that goes for all the B vitamins.
For all the B vitamins.
Being one of them.
Got it. Okay. So for that third one you're mentioning, is that, I mean, in simple layman terms, is that usually those droplets? Is it a capsule? Like, does it come in both? Because I don't, just for someone that's new, just to point out, like, my rudimentary understanding of it is just more usually when it's like a liquid droplets that you digest a lot easier than it is capsule. Again, that's just my assumption. So I'm totally wrong there. Okay. So, what I mean? Like, for layman terms, how do you break it down?
This is part of why I say my biggest takeaway that I want your listeners to take from this conversation between you and I is if you do not know how to decipher and determine a product that is actually worth the money, you need to do one of two things. Number one, find a practitioner who can do that for you or learn how to do it yourself. It's possible to learn how to do that too. My level 1 supplement quality specialist course is open to lay people who have enough of an understanding, like a certain level of like associate's degree level of college education and understanding, to be able to take that course and understand how to accurately decipher supplement quality with 100% accuracy, 100% of the time.
Wow.
But mostly it's written for health professionals. So if you are a layperson and you decide that you want to go in that direction, really look at the information on the website to decide whether or not you're ready for it. And if you're not, find a graduate of the program who has the information that you're looking for. But here's the thing, you don't have to do that. Most importantly, please just choose clean food. Like food sourcing, so important. Choose foods grown that are like heirloom, so non-GMO. Choose foods grown without herbicides and pesticides. Choose foods that are grown using regenerative and sustainable methods that are like good for the earth, because if they're doing practices that are good for the earth, the food is going to be good for you too. And that goes for any and all produce, any and all seeds and nuts, any and all animal products. I mean, it's like this overarching umbrella of spend your money on good food. You are never going to supplement your way out of not eating good food, ever.
That's a good one. How I interpret that, Kate, is just folks, support your local farmers market.
Yes.
Honestly, like that's such a great, I mean, we go, if it's not weekly and bi-weekly, to our local farmers market, but there's just so much good stuff. Yes, it might be a little bit more expensive, and if you have the means to, right? I mean, I want to respect that as well. And like you said, just eating clean food is a monumental first step. That's what I'm taking away from it, right?
Well, I can also say that there are a lot of grocery stores out there that are major national chains here in the US that are dedicated to being able to source clean food affordably for people. One of the companies that I want to mention that's doing that is Safeway. When GMOs started becoming very pushed, they decided, because, well, in all honesty, my understanding is they are a faith-based business. And so they believe that food should be the way, in their words, God intended. And so they decided to invest in organics and clean food. And their whole goal and purpose was providing clean, organic, nutrient-dense, affordable food to people. So even though I am not faith-based, my spirituality is a different path. That is something I respect. That is something that I can fully support. And as someone who is living on a budget and is financially conscious, I choose to spend my money at Safeway to source my clean food, in addition to the farmers markets when and how I can. But there's other options too, like there's things known as food co-ops and CSAs and things like that. So if you get online and you research, you can find some really good, affordable options that are out there that you may not have been aware of before. And one of the other things that I have to share, and this is just like a little tip and trick that I share with my clients who are also on a budget, is you don't have to make all the changes all at once. Literally change one thing a week, right? So 1 week, I go to the store and I buy a bottle of organic ketchup, and I go home and I throw away my non-organic ketchup. And the next week, I go to the store and I buy a bag of organic rice, and I go home and I throw away the bag of non-organic rice, right? And by the end of that year, you have literally made 52 trade outs and swaps that are in direct support of your health.
I love it. I love it. I love it. It's so practical.
Yes.
I love it, Kate. So I think we covered 2 of the 3, right? Was there a third one?
Yeah,
Misconception? What's the third misconception?
So the third misconception, and this is something that we've spoken to a little bit in this conversation so far, is that all supplement quality is the same. And that is far from the truth. So instead of continuing to go down rabbit holes, I'm just going to very briefly mention all of them. So the first one that we talked about was raw material quality. The second one is manufacturing practices, because how a product is manufactured directly impacts and can degrade or destroy the nutrients or herbs or fatty acids in a product. The next one is excipients. So for those people that are not familiar with the word excipients, if you turn over a supplement bottle here in the United States, you're going to see something underneath the supplement facts label that says other ingredients. Excipients are those other ingredients. And excipients, once again, everything comes from something, and raw materials, the quality which varies, are used to synthesize those excipients that are in a product. And usually excipients are added or used to speed up the manufacturing practices if companies are using manufacturing practices that are, well, not as high quality. So the number of excipients in a product can really help you determine the quality of a product. So if you turn over a bottle and you see more than like 2 or 3 excipients or other ingredients on that label and you don't recognize most of them, please put it back on the shelf. Like, please just put it back on the shelf. Be like, oh, I remember Kate, the supplement expert, said, if I don't recognize the excipient and there's more than 2 or 3, maybe I shouldn't be putting this in my body because I don't know enough about what's going on in this product. So yeah, excipients is another one.
Yeah.
End product testing. That is another quality consideration. And let me just say that there are a whole bunch of very expensive programs out there that really, really large supplement companies help to fund, which is what the quality considerations of that verification stamp is based on. So verification programs don't necessarily determine whether or not a product is high quality. Like if you see a company that says GMP for good manufacturing practices, does that mean the supplement is high quality? No, it literally means that, wow, congratulations, supplement company, you're following the law. Woo woo. And it's been proven. You literally spent millions of dollars to prove that this product is following the law, which means they have to have enough money to pay to have that good manufacturing practices GMP stamp on it. But if your product in the United States, it is the law that in order to have a product on the market that you have to be following good manufacturing practices. That doesn't mean all companies do. Let's look at how many products are on the market. Millions of products are on the market. Can the FDA keep up with all of them? No. But when it is found out that a company or product is not being made using good manufacturing practices, it's immediately taken off the market and it cannot be sold anymore. So that's another one. And then the very last one is category considerations. Now, category considerations is there's all these different categories of supplements. There's water-soluble vitamins, fat-soluble vitamins, herbs, homeopathics, topicals, greens, powders, yada, 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 right? Every single one of those categories requires different quality considerations and manufacturing practices. So that means a company would have to have a whole bunch of specialized equipment or be doing a whole bunch of different things to make sure that every single product that is on the market that they are making is like the best quality in the world. And there's no way that any company can do that, really. So here's another good rule of thumb when it comes to quality considerations. If there is a supplement company that is literally making everything under the sun, like they have any supplement or product you could want, guess what? Probably not the best quality products, because there's no way to have all the specialized equipment to be making a high quality product for everything that they're making. There is no way possible.
Interesting.
It's
So
not financially feasible.
I get you. the analogy that comes into mind, Kate, when I hear you say that, it's almost like when you think about going to a farmer's market,
Yep,
you don't have a vendor that sells everything. You have every vendor
exactly.
that specializes in certain things.
Yes,
And you never step into a farmer's market where it's like, I'm the catch all of everything that you're going to find
yes,
here. You just don't see that. And so what I'm
exactly.
hearing from you
Yeah.
is that, okay, it's just something to keep in mind,
Yeah,
right?
go for
Right.
specialty companies. Like
Yeah.
go for a company that specializes in herbs. Turn over the bottle and
Right.
check the supplement facts label and see, is this made using organic herbs? Hey, if it is, congratulations. You have found a company that is being more careful when it comes to their sourcing.
Wow.
Look for a product, once again, that uses less excipients,
Yeah.
right? So look at
Yeah.
the other ingredients. Those are two really big key takeaways that I can give you. Go for the specialty companies that specialize in a specific product and look at the other ingredients part of the label.
Yeah. Wow. This is so good. This is so nourishing to the mind to just know, with those takeaways. So I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So Kate, as a functional practitioner and a
Mhm.
supplement expert,
Mhm.
what has nourishing the physical body taught you when it comes to having a balanced mind, body, and soul?
Mm. What nourishing the physical body has taught me about having a balanced body, mind, and soul
Yeah. For
is that
yourself. Yeah.
you literally cannot have an optimally balanced mind and soul unless the physical body is healthy on a cellular level.
Hmm.
And I share that because I remember along my health journey, I had a mentor along the way in my 20s that I'm so exceedingly grateful for every day of my life, who was willing to tell me about the spinach in my teeth. And one of the things that they shared with me, I say they because they are a non binary genetic hermaphrodite and a shaman for the Mohican tribe, is that in order to facilitate the mental and deep work changes that I wanted to in myself and my psyche on a personal level, taking care of my physical body would give me the access that I wanted to do that. And so that's exactly what I started doing. I started changing my diet. I started exercising. I started drinking enough clean water every day. And it was shocking to me. It was like before I started making those physical changes about what I was intaking into my body to nourish every structure and every function of my body. Because when you think about it, okay, every structure and every function of the body is built from and runs off of nutrients. That means you need nutritional cofactors to make what? The brain. You need nutritional cofactors to make what? The blood that carries nutrients to the brain. You need nutritional cofactors to do what? Make up the neurotransmitters to connect the synapses of the brain, right? It's all built from and runs off of nutrients. So as we take care of our physical body and we make these small changes so that the body has the nutrients to not just survive on a daily basis, but literally thrive and grow and blossom and come into balance, that gives our brain the ability to develop the new neural pathways to make these changes to our mind that fulfills our spirit. Our spirits are like crying out to be honored. And part of how we can do that is honoring our physical body because it's like it's a holy trifecta, the body, the mind, and the soul. It's a holy trifecta, and you have to balance all three parts in order for them to be able to exist in the true harmony that we desire.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. And oh my gosh, such good stuff. Thank you for sharing that. So, Kate, you are very multidimensional
Yeah.
when it comes to what you know, but really just how you serve.
Yeah.
And so, with that said, what is one tool in your toolkit that has recently made the biggest difference in your mind, body, and spirit balance?
That's a really good question. So A couple years ago, I worked with a colleague, a fellow functional nutrition practitioner, who encouraged me because I was going through some very hard transitions. And it was hard for me to get my mind and my body and my spirit through them. There were some serious emotional blockages that were going on that I was carrying in my physical body. And she, through functional testing, helped me identify some root issue mantras that I incorporated into my daily teaching and curriculum creation practice to release those emotional blockages with, I think it's called emotional freedom tapping, EM.
EFT.
Yeah, EFT. Thank you.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I've got perimenopause, so sometimes my brain like transposes things and I'm like, wait, what was I saying? What was that? So I incorporate EFT along with those mantras, and it facilitated powerful change for me. Like, I couldn't believe how literally by just tapping these points and speaking these mantras to myself as I was doing deep belly breathing in and out would literally release all this emotional weight and tension from my body so that I could come back into alignment with myself. It was huge and profound. And the other interesting thing about it was I found that as I would work through one emotional blockage, that a new mantra would come to the surface, and I kept getting closer and deeper to the root to really be able to come into balanced alignment with my mind, body, and spirit. So that's my most recent inclusion of my toolkit.
That's so powerful. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I know Ruby also does, I think, a little bit of EFT as well. I haven't personally incorporated yet, but I'm fascinated by just by hearing from your experience. And yeah, definitely we'll probably have to learn more about that.
Yeah. Well, I have to say that identifying the correct mantras while you do it is essential. It really is. Like just doing the points, it won't do it. You have to have the ability to identify the mantras that will serve you at that time in your life. Okay. And they can change and evolve. So just putting it out there.
No, it makes a lot of sense. And just for our audience, can you give one example of what a mantra might be? Just
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. So one of my mantras is I choose love. Because for me, in the choices that I make in my day-to-day life, I want them to come from a place of love. Like naturally, that's where I want them to be coming from. I don't want them to be coming from a place of judgment or coming from a place of fear or, those like reactionary primal emotions that are there for a reason as a form of self-protection, but I don't want them to be ruling my life. I want to be coming from a place of love and openness and receptivity. So for me, my mantras are generally, they're very succinct and simple. And another one that I used for a period of time, it had its time and its place while I was going through a really difficult work transition a couple of years ago, which was I honor myself. Because I didn't want to be reacting to what was happening in my work environment and how I was feeling about it. I wanted to make sure that whenever I was doing my work for this company that I was feeling incredibly compromised by, ethically speaking, that I was honoring myself by making sure that the work that I was doing was in authentic ethical alignment with myself. And not coming from the emotional reaction of the things that were happening to me in that environment.
Wow, so powerful. And I mean, I love it. What came to me when I'm listening to you talk, Kate, is that it's always a good reminder, rather than being reactive, is to be creative.
Yes, creativity for the win.
Really. And when you understand the essence of that and how that plays a role for your life, wherever moment in time you're at, I hope this really resonates with our listeners here, is that rather than being reactive of the outside forces of what's going externally in your life, in your body, everything, all the
Yeah.
above, is once we can really know thyself, be authentic to thyself, and then start create what
Yes.
you want, then
Exactly.
it's a shift in mindset. It's a shift in questions you ask yourself.
Yeah.
It's a shift in the actions you will take.
Yeah,
And that's what I
exactly.
got. That's what I got from you. And
And what came to me as you were sharing that is I just want to share with some of the listeners that if you're at a place in your journey where you're really struggling right now, like let's say you know you want these things. You know what kind of person you want to be, but you're feeling all these blockages in getting there. And it's like there's this person that you want to be that is in alignment with your soul, but you struggle with manifesting that into being. One of the things I want to share is that we are literally the sum of our choices from moment to moment. And while none of us have control over the things that happen around us, we always have control over the choices that we make in moment to moment. And so every single one of us, since we are some of our choices, each moment is an opportunity to just take a beat and say, who is the person that I want to be and what choice would they make in this moment, and make that choice. Because if you keep doing that, congratulations, you are the person that you want to be. Because you're making the choices that are aligning with your higher self, even if internally there are parts of you that are like whining and thrashing around and throwing a little hissy fit temper tantrum. It doesn't matter. We all have those like toddlers inside of ourselves that at times throw hissy fit temper tantrums. You may feel like I'm like this big guru supplement expert who doesn't have a little toddler inside throwing hissy fit temper tantrums that I have to tell to simmer down now, but I do. And that's literally how I got here, is that I realized if I make a choice in each moment, if I consciously connect with my opportunity in that moment to have my choice be a reflection of the person I want to be, I am that person because I am the sum of my choices.
God, it reminds me of the quote I've said repeatedly on this show, which is that one of the mantras for our family, and we got this from because Ruby loves drinking tea, and it was one of those like quotes that I shared, which is just embrace who you are, but embody who you want to become.
Oh my gosh, that I love it. I
And
love it.
it's just embrace who you are, the
Yeah,
lightness, the darkness in you. Like you are who you are,
exactly.
and it's okay
Yep.
because then you could be truly authentic to yourself.
Yes.
But you want to embody who you want to become. And
Yeah.
the steps that you were just breaking down really reminds me of that quote.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, love it. We could just be on for hours, but
I know we could be
I
talking forever.
we definitely going to have a part two, Kate, because I mean, there's like I said, there's so much more dimensions in getting to know you, and I want our audience to really benefit from really just knowing all what you have to offer. And so,
I
but
would love to do that, Ben, because I love what you do. And I have to say that what you share really it deeply speaks to my soul, which is why when we had the chance to connect and talk about me being a guest on your show, I was like, yes. Okay. Sign me up.
thank you, thank you. It's and thank you for sharing that, Kate. And I'll say that it has been a journey for me because
Yeah.
I didn't know this path and this journey that I'd be taking on. But once the ship started moving, it's like, oh my God, there's such
Mm-hmm.
beautiful destinations I've already gone in this
Mm-hmm.
and will continue to do. And so I'm
Yep.
very grateful that my wife connected us
Yeah, me
and there's
too.
more to come. And I know that.
Yeah, I
So
love her to pieces. She's
me
so
too.
amazing. As you and I shared with one another in a previous conversation, she is like a light. She
Yeah.
brings light to darkness. She is just this a beacon of light, I think is what I said.
Yeah.
She really is.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. So I've got three more questions here.
Okay,
The
three more
first one
questions.
is what book either you're currently reading or have read in the past year
Mhm.
that has a positive impact for you, like, and that you can share and why?
Okay. So this is a book that I read in 2020, and I loved it so much that as soon as I finished reading it, I literally started it over again because it was such a journey that I went on reading the life story of Nelson Mandela in his autobiography, The Long Road to Freedom.
Ooh.
And it was incredibly powerful, of course, because I started it towards the end of 2019. I used to travel for work a lot. And when I was at the airport, I would try to bring a book with me, but every once in a while I would be caught without a book. And so I'd go to the bookstore in the airport and I'd pick up a book. And I'm like, what? Nelson Mandela has an autobiography? I'm all over that. And so I grabbed it and it immediately sucked me in because he is an amazing writer and storyteller. And of course, that was what I was reading when all the started to go down in May of 2020, having to do with the racism, the rampant racism in this country finally being looked at and addressed, and the people that have been inflicted by the racism no longer being willing to just take it, but speaking out. And to be reading Nelson Mandela's autobiography about apartheid and his journey of, from being born and raised in apartheid and being a huge activist and freedom fighter to becoming the president of the country, it was profoundly, well, it was exactly what I needed to be reading at the time. And it's a book I highly recommend if you haven't read it. It's an amazing book. I mean, it is something that whenever I'm like, I don't know what to read, I'll be like, well, I'll just pick this up and open it up anywhere because it's so good.
Yeah.
That I'll find it engaging and I'll enjoy what I'm learning from it. So yeah, he was such a phenomenally amazing and inspiring human being. He's the kind of person that when I look at the kind of person that I want to be at the core of my soul, he is on that list of inspiring people for me.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So one question I always ask my guests is if the DeLorean and a time machine existed, and if you can travel back in time and 10 years ago, what would be one thing you would share for your younger self in that moment?
Your life does make sense and you're on the right path. Everything really does happen for a reason. Just continue to be true to your inner core of yourself and find the courage to keep making the choices in alignment with your authentic self.
Man, I felt that, Kate. I did, because I mentioned this before in a previous, I think it was my interview with Dr. Yvonne, but it's like when you heal your past, you heal your present and future. And I really felt that you really authentically shared that with your younger self. So thank you for saying that. Yeah. Thank you. Last but definitely not least, where can our audience find you, Kate?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, well, my company is the online business, the Supplement Academy. It's the supplementacademy.com. You can find me there. I offer courses. The website is admittedly really bare bones right now because I am like most of my bandwidth and dedication is to creating really amazing content for my course participants. So outside of the website, it's got the information you need. And that's something that I'm going to be working on as things continue in the future. But yeah, that's where you can find me, the supplementacademy.com. You can also find me on Instagram and Facebook at Kate Mahoney, N as in Nancy, T as in tree, P as in practitioner.
Beautiful. And I'm going to include all your information in our show notes. So
okay,
I'll
Sounds
definitely
good.
give a way for our audience and listeners to be able to reach out and find you. But
Okay.
wow, Kate, thank you so much for being so giving of your time and sharing your light. And yeah, there's definitely a part two coming in the near future. I know it, but I really appreciate you shedding a light that oftentimes people just don't know about. And I
Mm.
wanted to, speaking of balance, I've talked a lot, and some of the guests I've already invited spoke within the mind or the soul aspect of it, but the body one was the
Mhm.
one where I was like, okay, I really need to balance things out. And so that's why
Mhm.
I'm really thankful and grateful that Ruby connected us and for our audience to be able to listen to your wisdom today. So thank
Oh,
you.
well, thank you. And do you mind if I leave them with a short takeaway?
Yeah, yes, please.
Do yourself and your loved ones a favor. And if you don't know enough about supplements to determine whether or not a product is worth the money, your money is always going to be better spent on clean food and water. You can't
Fantastic.
supplement your way out of a bad diet. Sorry, it's just true. Especially since most supplements are so crappy.
That is good to know. And it's really a practical advice,
Yeah,
really.
yeah,
So I love that.
exactly.
Thank you for imparting that. Thank you,
Well,
Kate.
Ben, thank you
Yes,
so much for having me on. This was so much fun, and I love your questions and how you provide such great opportunities to your guests to just really go deep into the soul level to find out what makes them tick. This was an amazing experience, so thank you.
oh, thank you. Thank you. And it'll be to be continued.
Okay, sounds great.
Thank you so much, Kate, for joining us today.
Thank you, Ben.
Holy cow. I feel like I just ate at a buffet of nutrient dense wisdom from Kate. I really hope you all enjoyed today's interview. There is so many golden nuggets that Kate shared. The top three takeaways I got are number one, every structure and every function of the body is built from and runs off of nutrients. The second takeaway is you literally cannot have an optimally balanced mind and soul unless the physical body is healthy on the cellular level. It really feels good when you connect with like minded souls, especially ones that share similar values. What I appreciate about Kate is that she's also a believer of building a solid foundation of mind, body, and soul. And through her perspective, balance can be achieved when your physical body is healthy on a cellular level. The third takeaway is if you don't know enough about supplements to determine if a product is worth the money, your money is always going to be better spent on clean food and water. You can't supplement your way out of a bad diet. If you enjoyed today's interview, please share this episode with your family, friends, or loved ones that you feel can truly benefit. Sharing is caring, folks, and health is wealth. I really encourage you to keep health as a top priority in life for you and your loved ones. For current Boom Vision subscribers, I appreciate your continued support. If you're a new listener, welcome to this community. Please hit subscribe to the Boom Vision podcast so that we can travel this journey together. We thrive by building success on top of a rock-solid foundation of our mind, body, and soul. If this has made a positive impact in your life, please leave a review as it would really help to reach others that can benefit from this show. Until next time, folks, be kind to yourself, be in the light, be you. Thank you so much for tuning in to my Boom Vision podcast. If you'd like to find out more about me and this podcast, head over to benjaminYeh.com. That's spelled BenjaminYeh.com. If you haven't already, click subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.